everyone, welcome back. We're diving deep into relationships today, specifically how men and women, navigate that whole needs and communication thing.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely something everyone can relate to. Hopefully, we can give everyone some really practical tools to, make their relationships even better.
For sure. So, we're looking at chapter 6 of Queen's Code, and it has a really unique perspective.
I think this chapter is great at pointing out the patterns in relationships that can lead to some, big aha moments.
Absolutely. Okay, so one thing the book talks about is these stages of development for men. They use these metaphors of knights, princes, and kings.
You can think of it like this. You got the knight, right. He's all about adventure, pushing boundaries, you know the type, always up for a challenge, seeking new experiences.
So if you're with a knight, don't expect him to be like super settled. He's in that exploratory phase,
Yes,
right?
exactly. And then we have the prince. He's moved past just thrills, and now he's all about building and creating.
So he's starting businesses, getting promotions, maybe building a house, that kind of thing. Driven and ambitious.
Right. And then we have the king. Now, this isn't about ruling or anything. It's about a stage where providing for the people he cares about becomes central to who he is.
He's the protector, the provider. Think of a father figure who worked hard to make sure his family has everything they need. That's that king energy.
And the book really dives into how this providing thing is just deeply ingrained in men. They feel responsible, accountable even, to take care of their loved ones.
That actually explains a lot. The book gives this example of Kimberly and her husband Raul. She was saying that when she asks for new equipment for her business, Raul gets defensive right away.
Because he feels like he's failing to be the provider if he can't get that need met immediately. That sense of accountability is strong.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. And this leads to another thing the book talks about, single focus.
Yeah, this is that idea that men can really hyper-focus on one thing at a time. Not ignoring everything else. It's just their brains are wired to concentrate until it's done.
So it's not that they don't care about your needs, it's more that they're temporarily tuned to a different channel.
Exactly. And this single focus thing, combined with that provider instinct, can sometimes lead to what the book calls a breaking point.
Ooh, this is where it gets interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so imagine a guy working all day, super focused on his tasks. He's not really tuned into his own needs until they're critical, urgent.
Yeah, it's he suddenly realizes, oh man, I am starving. I need food now.
The book has this funny example of Mike, remember, grabbing Cheez-Its right before dinner. Much to Karen's dismay.
Oh yeah, he wasn't trying to be rude or dismissive of her efforts. He just hit that breaking point of hunger and his single-minded focus took over. It was I get.
That's totally why my husband falls asleep sometimes in the middle of talking. His energy is just gone and his brain shuts off. Not personal, it's just physiological.
Yeah, the book actually says that falling asleep anywhere is kind of another sign of that single focus mixed with feeling safe. A woman might need to feel secure before sleeping, but a guy can just switch off once he's exhausted.
So maybe those guys asleep on park benches aren't lazy, they're just really good at tuning out the world.
It's an interesting observation. But here's the thing. This critical and urgent approach, it's not just for his own needs. It impacts how he responds to the needs of people he cares about, too.
Okay, so once you tell him you need something, it's his mission to fulfill it right away.
Exactly. It triggers that whole provider instinct he gets operating with that same sense of urgency.
Yeah.
It's like the switch flips. And he's in problem-solving mode.
Which I guess can be great if you need something fixed, right? But it doesn't always work when you just need someone to listen and understand.
Right, because his first instinct might be to jump into action and fix it, when what you really need is just to be heard.
The book gives this example of Karen and Mike on road trips. If Karen says she's hungry, Mike slams on the brakes looking for the nearest drive-through.
Oh, yeah.
And if she says she has to use the bathroom, it's like a race to find a gas station.
And while Karen, liked that he was trying to help, sometimes it felt like he was missing the point, the emotional part of it.
It's like sometimes she just wanted to, complain about being hangry, not have him actually solve it right then.
And that kind of misunderstanding can be frustrating for both people, right?
He thinks he's being helpful. She feels like he's not listening.
But knowing about this whole you need, he gets thing can really change how you see those moments.
Definitely. It's not about him being insensitive. It's about understanding how that provider instinct works.
So how do we actually, bridge that communication gap? The book talks about this thing called a needs conversation, which sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a way for women to like communicate their needs in a way that really clicks for men. I'm curious, how does that work in real life? Does the book actually give like a step by step?
It does. So first, you got to schedule a time to talk
Yeah.
and not just squeeze it in while he's watching TV or something. It's about making space where you can both focus.
I like that. No more trying to have these big conversations in the middle of like chaos.
Right. It's more intentional that way.
Mhm.
So then once you have that time, the next step is to acknowledge that he is the provider.
So you're tapping into that instinct we talked about, like saying, hey, I see you and I appreciate everything you do.
Exactly. And that matters to men because it shows them that their efforts are noticed and appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. And then comes the main part, actually saying the need. And the book is very specific. Use the word need.
Yeah. Be direct, upfront, no beating around the bush or hinting. Just say, I need.
Mm.
And then tell them exactly what that looks like.
So instead of, it would be nice if you helped around the house more, you say, I need you to take out the trash twice a week.
That's it. Clear, concise.
Yeah.
No room for interpretation.
And the next step, I think this is really smart, is explaining what happens if he fulfills this need, like what it does for you.
It's about shifting from demanding to being partners. You highlight how it benefits both of you.
So it's not about him messing up or what you're missing, but how everyone wins if this need is met.
Right. Like you might say, if you could take out the trash, I'd have more time and energy to do things I enjoy, and that makes me a happier partner.
So everyone wins. And then, get this, the book says to ask him what each needs to be able to do this.
This is big because it shows that he has needs too, right? It's not just about you getting yours met. It's finding a solution that works for both.
So you'd ask, what time of day works for you to take out the trash? Do you need a reminder, or can you set one yourself?
Exactly. You work together to find a system that works for both people. And then finally, you figure out how to show appreciation.
Like completing the circle. It's not just taking, it's giving back and saying thank you.
Yeah, you could say, I really appreciate you doing this. It means a lot. Or you could do something nice for him, like cook his favorite meal or something.
It's reinforcing that positive back and forth in the relationship.
And what's amazing is that this needs conversation can even help when your needs clash, like when you both want different things.
That's where the book talks about let's make a deal, which honestly sounds more like a game show than a relationship advice.
Well, it's about approaching conflict playfully, creatively, not getting stuck in that like my way or the highway trap.
So instead of being stubborn, you get curious about what each other really wants deep down.
Right. It's moving away from limited options and actually saying what you really desire, even if it seems impossible at first.
The book talks about Karen, who was so done with cooking during busy weeks, but Mike really needs those home-cooked meals. Tough situation.
It was. But by saying what they truly desired, they got creative. Instead of Karen being resentful or Mike missing his meals, they tried a meal delivery service a few nights a week.
So they both kind of got what they wanted. Karen gets a bake. Mike still gets some home cooking.
Exactly. You find that sweet spot where both people feel heard and their needs are acknowledged. It takes thinking outside the box sometimes.
And the book is clear. It's not about winning or losing. It's about both people's needs being important.
Which brings us to another interesting idea from the book. The 3 categories of needs.
Okay, I'm listening. What are they?
So there's survival needs, the basics like food, water, shelter. Then there's quality of life needs, things that affect our well-being, how we function, like safety, connection, purpose.
Those make sense. Is there more?
There's one more, and it's a big one. Needs given up on. These are the needs we've tried to get met, but it hasn't worked out. And over time, we believe they just won't be met, so we give up.
I've been there, like, when you accept that some things will always be a struggle in relationships, like, I've kind of given up on quality time with my partner during the week because of his job.
And that's exactly what the book warns against. Because giving up on needs can lead to resentment, pulling away, and even less passion and generosity in the relationship.
Like a slow leak in the foundation, basically.
The book gives an example of Kimberly's friend's husband, and he seems to be in that needs giving up on category. It's actually putting his marriage at risk. He's withdrawn, passive. His wife feels like he's checked out.
Yikes. So how do we not fall into that trap? How do we keep from giving up on our needs?
The book has some suggestions. First, just be aware of what needs you've given up on. Sometimes simply admitting it is a big step.
It's like finally acknowledging what's been hiding in the shadows.
Exactly. And once you know what those needs are, the book says, talk to your partner about them, but not in a demanding way. right? It's about starting a conversation, sharing how you feel, and finding solutions together.
So if I wanted to talk to my partner about needing more quality time, I wouldn't be like, you never make time for me.
No, that would probably just make him defensive. Try saying something like, I've been feeling a little disconnected lately. I love our time together, and it would be great to find more of that during the week.
That's so much better. It feels like a real conversation, not a fight.
Right. And the book also says it's important to pay attention to your partner's needs too, not just your own.
So it's not just about what I need, but also being there for him, even if he doesn't always say it out loud.
Exactly. And that can be hard because, men aren't always great at recognizing or talking about their needs.
So how do we help them get their needs met if they don't even know what they are?
The book says to watch their behavior. Is he withdrawing, getting irritable, doing things that aren't healthy? Those could all be signs that something's not right.
Like you're playing detective.
Kinda. And when you see those signs, approach him with curiosity and kindness. You could say, hey, you seem stressed. Anything I can do?
That's a good one. It shows you care and that you're there for him.
And sometimes the best thing is just listening without judgment. Let him know it's safe to open up.
This whole conversation about needs has really shown how important communication is in relationships. But the book goes even deeper. It talks about how women often see their own needs, too.
The author, Claudia, she points out that women often fall into this mother role, which can lead to putting everyone else first and neglecting ourselves.
That's so true. It's like we're supposed to take care of everyone else before ourselves.
And while nurturing is great, it becomes a problem when we do it at the expense of our own well-being.
I know I've done that before. You get so busy taking care of everyone that you forget about yourself.
And the book actually compares this mother thing to how men approach their needs, remember? That critical and urgent thing.
Wait, how are those connected?
Well, think about it. Men are so busy providing that they don't even realize they have needs until it's an emergency.
And then they have to act right away.
Exactly. And women, we're so busy nurturing that we ignore our needs until we're completely drained.
Like two sides of the same coin. We both end up neglecting ourselves, but for different reasons.
And the book suggests that we can learn from each other. Men can learn to slow down, pay attention to their needs, and take care of themselves. Women can learn to speak up for their needs and make sure they get met.
So it's about finding a balance, not about who's right or wrong.
Exactly. And part of that balance is what the book calls the Queen's alternative to demanding.
Okay, now I'm curious. What's that?
It's about changing how we see needs. Instead of feeling entitled or resentful, we think about them in terms of the future.
So instead of saying, you should do the dishes because I always cook, I would say,
You could try. It'd be amazing if you could do the dishes tonight. It would give you some time to relax, and maybe we could cuddle up and watch a movie.
it's like you're creating a positive picture instead of focusing on the negative.
Exactly. And it appeals to that provider instinct. It lets him feel like he's contributing to your happiness, which is important to men.
It's wild how much words can matter.
Absolutely. And even when you're being direct about your needs, the book says to express them as gifts, not demands.
Like that idea of, you can't deserve a gift.
Right. When you see your needs as gifts, it creates a more open and collaborative energy.
It's like inviting your partner to create something good together.
And that's a great foundation for any relationship.
This has been an amazing look at Queen's Code. We've covered so much, from those stages of development for men to having those needs conversations.
And we've learned about recognizing our own needs and our partner's needs and finding ways to meet them so everyone feels good.
For those listening, think about your own relationships. What needs have you given up on? What about your partner? What has he given up on?
And how can you start talking about those needs in a way that brings you closer, helps you work together, and understand each other better?
Remember, relationships are a journey. It's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep working towards something fulfilling.
And small changes can make a big difference, even just changing how you talk and how you see things.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you got something valuable out of it. Until next time, happy communicating.